And I'd like to start in a supported child's pose today. So even if you're fairly flexible and don't need to have anything underneath you, I'm going to suggest that today you go ahead and grab a blanket. If you happen to have a bolster as a prop, you could use that. You could grab a cushion off the couch. That can be really nice. So just coming into this. And then also, if you know that you tend to have a little tenderness in your knees, I'm going to use the bolster setup here. So knees are going to come wide. Just going to lay out over the bolster. Knees are tender, lower back's a little tender. Slide a little blanket underneath the booty so it just helps to raise the hips. And then as you do that, you might find that you need a little more height here. So just take a moment, be a little picky here. You want to be comfortable. So be like the princess and the pea. And then go ahead and start to find some nice breaths. So full, complete exhale, or inhales rather. And then you're going to, these first few rounds, open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. Inhale, notice how the breath just creeps out to all of these spots in your body. It's very big and expansive. And then as you exhale, maybe let go of any thoughts or ideas that might be kind of kicking around the brain right now that are unpleasant or annoying. Let them go for the next hour. And in this child's pose here, you could be resting on your head. You could have the cheek turned to one side. We'll switch eventually. But as you feel ready, you're going to begin to come into an even rhythm of breath. So inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your nose, beginning to create that soft rush of air in the back of your throat. That ujjayi breath, victorious breath. It helps to build some heat in the body. And we want a little bit of that, especially at the beginning of the class here as we get moving, get warm, so we can come into some long held stretches. But of course, this breath also gives us something to focus the attention on. So it helps us to quiet the mind. It becomes this very useful tool. And then I want you to do a little scan of your body here. So it happens, we start to grip and hold. We have these kind of go-to places, these habitual spots where we're working a little more than we need to, and we're not even aware of it. And even as I say this, it might be fine or hard to find that body awareness, but explore it. Gonna do a little scan, start at your feet, work your way up. Maybe make tiny movements, little adjustments to help release in places. Maybe as you're doing this, you're going to find some spots where they're kind of not involved at all. Maybe they need to be. So you can explore what that feels like as well. And some days we drop into this quiet space pretty easily. So if that's you today, little smile, that always feels good. More often than not, though, it takes a minute or two or 10 or 20. So don't get frustrated if you're getting distracted by sounds happening in the room around you, if you can't quite turn the brain off. So more important is the effort. And when you lose that thread of your breath, you simply remind yourself to come back to it. If you have your cheek turned to one side, go ahead and turn it to the other side. And then notice here, did that introduce tension into your neck? Is this side a little tighter? Does it feel the same as the other side? Get curious. And maybe at this stage, you're starting to find a little more expansion of the rib cage as you inhale, and then that contraction as you exhale. It's very three-dimensional, so it's happening in the front of the body, the sides of the body, the back of the body, and the bottom of the body, the top of the body. Maybe with your eyes closed here, just get inside this space in your torso. And just imagine what the breath looks like as it moves into all those different spots. And then you can also key into what it feels like, and that's really subtle. A few more good breaths here, just soaking up this quiet, setting the tone for the practice ahead. Nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out. Ha. And then come onto your forehead. Nice and slow. Start to walk your hands up, and you can move the props out of the way here. Before we move into a cat-cow stretch, let's just get into the toes a little bit. Uh-oh. This is always intense. So you're going to bring knees together as though you're going to sit back in Vajrasana. So come up onto the knees, curl the toes under. Usually you've got to reach back with your hand, kind of curl that pinky toe, that baby toe under. You want to feel your shoulders stacking over hips here. You're nice and tall in the spine. Hands can just be resting on your thighs. Close the eyes. So there's all of this sensation happening in the toes right now. Make sure that that sensation isn't happening in your face. So you're relaxing the muscles there as much as you want to clench the teeth. Maybe smile a little bit, keep breathing. Let's be here for a few more breaths. This isn't gonna last forever. One more deep inhale. Good. Exhale, rock forward. Hallelujah. Come up onto the knees. Ooh, wiggle the toes out, wiggle the ankles out. Go a few times each direction. So as much as we're having all of these sensations when we're in the poses, there are also sensations that happen when we come out of the poses. So get really curious about those as well. And then find your nice tabletop, shoulders over wrists, fingers spreading, knees under hips. We're all really good at this. So we move into our cat-cow. Inhale, arch in that lumbar. Chest comes forward through the gates of your shoulders. As you exhale, press the butt away a lot. Round into the thoracic, the upper spine as you come into that cat stretch. And then you continue here, moving at your pace. Your eyes might be closed here. I always find that's really nice. Again, with the eyes closed, we're not getting distracted by all of the external stimulus. So we can really get inside and pay attention. Those look really good, Kathleen. And I'm seeing in both Neil and Kathleen, as they come into that cat stretch, they're getting this beautiful release in the neck. So let's all really focus on that lengthening. You could even just imagine that there is a weight attached to your forehead, pulling you to the earth as you come into that cat stretch. So this is really nice to do. We carry so much tension and stress in our shoulders, in the neck. It's the weight of the world. So be Atlas, shrug, let it go. Find that space, find that length. Couple more rounds. Inhale, come up to neutral. So you're neither arching nor rounding. You're gonna feel your lower belly pull in a little bit, so you're getting that support. And we're gonna come into thread the needle, so shoulder neck stretch. If there's anything going on, you're gonna wanna have a blanket or a block close by to rest your head on. So go ahead and root down into that right palm. And then today, let's take this left arm off to the side, so perpendicular to the shoulder. And just take a couple breaths like this. Feel the shoulder blades release down your back and squeeze in towards each other. Deep inhale. And then exhale, go ahead and thread that arm behind. And then again, if you're really tight in the neck, this is a fantastic place to rest your ear on that block. And then maybe come up onto those right fingertips. So it's like you have little gecko hands. And then press down into the fingertips. As you do that, start to roll the left waist to the right. From here, if you'd like to, begin to reach those gecko fingers up towards the ceiling. Keep them active and spread. And then press that right shoulder head behind you. So nice little heart opening. And you're still breathing that inhale through the nose, that exhale through the nose. As you exhale, release that right hand down. Come back to your tabletop. Make any little adjustments here that you need to. And then the same thing on the second side. So as you inhale, just lift that right arm up. So it's perpendicular to the shoulder. Take a breath or two here, getting lots of length in your spine. And then exhale, start to thread the needle. So cheek could be resting on that block. You could even have that block underneath your shoulder. So play around, see what you need here to feel comfortable in the pose. And there's zero shame in using props. We tend to think we're doing it wrong, we're not getting the benefit. More important to cultivate this sense of knowing what your body needs and making smart choices in your yoga practice. So you might be up on your left fingertips, gently pressing down into the earth so that you can shift that left shoulder head back. And then stay here. I'm getting a great stretch, so it's a good place to be. If you did want to reach your fingers up towards the ceiling, maybe lean that arm back slightly as you press the left shoulder head back. Take that variation. A few more good breaths. Inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your nose, always coming back to that. Good, one more deep inhale. And then as you exhale, you unwind. Let's do a couple more rounds of cat-cow. Just to let that go, cleansing the palate. Maybe it feels a little different already. Perhaps you have a little more space, especially in the upper back. Good, and then walk your hands forward. Spread your fingers, press evenly. Feel those arms already start to activate. Curl your toes under. Shift your hips back. Downward facing dog. I just got some great clicks in my ankle. You might find that too. You might get some good cracks in your back. Go ahead and just find a little gentle movement here, whatever that looks like. So there's no right or wrong answer. Just sort of intuiting what might feel good in your body. Letting it feel like this, you're on this playground. Notice if you've started to grip your neck again. Often we do when we come into this, especially the first downward dog of the day. So let it lengthen. And then eventually you're going to start to melt your heels back any amount. A bend in the knees is really nice. If you're tighter in the hamstrings, if you're tighter in the lower back, that just gives you the ability to lengthen more through the sides of your waist. Check to see that your feet are hips distance apart. Second toe points forward. And then let's just nod our head yes here. And as you're doing this, I really want you to tuck your chin towards your chest. And then nod your head no. Good, come back to center. Pull your belly in. Inhale, shift forward into your plank pose. You might need to wiggle your toes back a little bit. So we want shoulders over wrists, hips in line with shoulders, legs really active. So you're lengthening back through your tailbone as you stretch forward through your sternum. And even here, we don't want too much doming in the upper back. So the shoulder blades are squeezing in. There's a little bit of a feeling of cobra here in the chest. Harder to find than actually cobra. Let's see if you can squeeze those shoulder blades in and then keep the gaze forward. Let's all come to our knees. Slowly, 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 elbows bend. Keep the shoulder heads lifted. Everything touches down at once. Reach your legs back so you're pressing into the tops of the feet. Interlace hands at the small of your back. Just moving into our Shalabhasana with the breath. Inhale. Stretching back. If you're hyper flexible in your joints, you can have a little micro bend in your elbows, and that's going to give you a little more work in the upper arm and also protect that joint. Inhaling, lifting up. Exhaling, rounding. Do 3 more like that. And then on that third one, you're going to hold. Feel that widening across your heart and chest as you open up and lift. Good. And then holding here, couple of breaths. Keep lifted. And then I want you to change the interlacing of your fingers. So you just shift everything over one. Palms are still facing towards each other. Exhale, lower down. Inhaling up. Exhaling, lowering. Inhale up. Roll a little more to the outer edges of your feet. Exhale, lower. Good. Inhale up. Couple of breaths here. So just crossing the fingers, changing that cross might make this stretch feel slightly different. So notice, get curious, ask. All right, so from here, we're going to take our arms out wide. So keeping your chest lifted just for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to turn this into a nice little kind of a back twist, shoulder twist. So we're going to place our right hand down on the floor. If you know that you're more open in the shoulders, you can keep this perpendicular configuration. Most of us are going to take that arm to 45 degrees. So kind of bring it closer to the side. And if you know you're tighter, it can come by the side quite a bit. Gecko fingers again in that left hand. So you're going to come up onto those fingertips, lower onto your forehead. And then you're going to start to kick this left leg up and over any amount. And then you can walk those left fingertips in. Give you a side view too, so you can see what's going on here. So kind of a little variation of the thread the needle pose. You're wrapping those right ribs up towards the ceiling, left ribs up towards the ceiling. Maybe you start to reach left fingertips up. Maybe you start to bring your gaze up. That's going to intensify the stretch in the neck. Send your exhale to those spots that are feeling this in an intense way. Use your breath to create some ease. One more deep inhale. Exhale, unwind. Good, and then let's just set that up the same way. So you're on your forehead, toes are pointing back, arms perpendicular to your shoulders. Inhale, lift. So just that little back bend to let that side go. And then if you're more open in your shoulders, this left arm is going to stay perpendicular. Otherwise, you angle it back. Come onto these left fingertips, so those little gecko fingers. Turn onto your left cheek. Maybe you have your cheek on a blanket or a block. And then it's like you're flipping the dog. So that right leg comes up and over. You can rest on the toes. Maybe they don't reach the mat. That's absolutely fine. Press into your right fingertips to draw that right shoulder head back. Maybe you start to lift that arm up. Maybe you get a nice little chiropractic adjustment in your upper spine. Yoga is good for so many things. Couple more good breaths here. Curious about the sensations in your body and how it's different from side to side, how it's always changing. Come back to your breath. Good, deep inhale. Exhale. Unwind here. Come onto your forehead. Good. So let's keep the arms out wide. This time as you inhale, head and chest lift, and then maybe you're lifting your feet up off the mat a tiny amount too. If you start to grip a lot in the lumbar, place the feet back down. Spin your palms to face forward. Reach up overhead, so get a lot of length. And then feet come down, fingertips underneath shoulder head. So here we are in our low cobra pose. So beautiful, gentle back bend. From here, we press to tabletop, curl toes under, downward dog. Deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. And then start to walk your feet back, your hands back to meet your feet. Sometimes I get dyslexic about feet, wrists, hands, and ankles as much as I do about left and right. As you inhale, chest lengthens. As you exhale, fold in. Good, a few times like that. Inhaling, lengthening, so standing cobra pose. Exhale, fold in. Beautiful. One more. Inhale, lengthen, gaze forward. These look great. As you exhale, you fold in. Inhale, root down into your feet. You can either reach your arms forward or you can take your arms out wide. Maybe do the opposite of what you usually do. And then you're standing in your Tadasana, stretching fingers up. Put your brain down in your feet, feel your arches lift. Even if it's just a thought, you could have the flattest feet in the world, but imagine that there's an arch there that somebody could just slide a pencil underneath the center of your foot. Maybe start to bring your gaze up, that lift again. Press palms together. As you exhale, hands come to heart center and we start to flow. Nice and gentle today. Inhaling, arms reach, but we do want to build a little heat. Exhale, you can dive down the center or take arms out wide. Inhale, fingertips on floor, hands on shins or thighs, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Exhale, fold. Inhaling, rooting down to rise up. As you exhale, hands come together at your hearts. Inhale, reach Utthita Hastasana into Dasana, extended mountain. And you move with your breath if I'm not cueing the same as your breath. As you exhale, you fold in Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, elbow squeeze in, shoulder blade squeeze in. Exhale, fold back in. Good, inhale, press down into your feet, stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your hearts. Inhale, reach, arches lifting, toes nice and light. So we can also get the death grip on our mats here with our toes. Just trust that gravity is keeping you firmly anchored to the earth. It's maybe the one thing we can count on in 2020. You have 2 more, maybe 3 if you're moving a little faster today. Maybe close your eyes. I'm not going to cue you. You're just moving with your breath. You're paying attention to your body. You're breathing space into those spots that are congested and tight. And there's absolutely zero rush. You're just standing in your mountain pose Tadasana, palms together at heart center when you're done. Bring your awareness to your lower belly, to your tailbone. Pull the belly in, release the tailbone down, and then press the shoulder heads back a little more. So the bones are just stacking on top of each other. Okay, so a little more flow as you exhale, release your hands by your side. Inhale, stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. As you exhale, step your right foot way back, and you're gonna lower onto your left knee. And you might need to pad that left knee up if you're on a hard surface. You could also have some blocks here. So melt in, sink that left hip down towards the floor, couple of breaths, and then we're gonna turn this into a little vinyasa here, moving into our half splits. Good, and you don't have to, you can just listen to your body. You might not have to go back very far. So we're gonna start to move here as you inhale. Begin to straighten that right leg. It might not come all the way to straight. There could be a healthy bend there. Exhale in. Inhaling back. So of course, this is super intense if you're a runner, a biker. Inhaling back. If you're a human, especially as we come into this half split stretch. Let's do a couple more of these. So hamstring is this really big muscle and it's tight. And when our hamstrings are tight, it affects the spine, the lower back particularly. So pull back here, take a couple breaths. Maybe you take the blocks for a walk here. And then you think of your foot as your gas pedal. So if you need a little more, you point those toes up towards the ceiling. If you need a little less, you kind of just let that leg, that foot relax. Breathing into those spaces. It's a big space that's getting a good stretch here. Smile a little. Easy for me to say as the creator of this torture. All right, so rock forward again. Hands come up to that right thigh. Make sure that you're not on a tightrope. You might need to walk that right foot off to the right. Direct tailbone down, stretch sternum up, find that, and then reach your arms up. And then let's hold on to our left wrist, get a little tighter, root down into that right foot. Ooh, little side stretch. So the hips go off to the left. You're spinning that left palm to face behind you. Maybe you start to gaze up underneath that top arm. Very nice. Looks good, Neil. Oh, use your belly. Squeeze that left hip into the center to help you rise back up. Low crescent. And then as you exhale, hands come to the mat. Curl those left toes under, firm that thigh up. See if you can keep your hips this low as you step to your plank pose. And today, let's just use knees, lower chaturanga, pause, onto your belly. Inhale, low cobra. Exhale, press to tabletop, curl toes under. And then as we inhale, that right leg lifts. As you exhale, you're gonna, I think I did that wrong. Do the other side. So you're gonna have your left leg forward. About screwed you guys up there, made you do it twice on one side. So first, just melting in, letting that right hip release down to the mat. Big, big stretch on the front of the leg. So a lot of big muscles attaching here. The quadriceps a good size muscle. Then we have these hip flexors, which really get worked a lot. So this is a good little thing to do a few times a week, even if you're not doing this in the context of an entire yoga practice. Okay, and then we start to move here. Maybe you have your blocks. Inhale, pull back. Doesn't have to be very far at all. Exhale, melt in. So this little vinyasa, anytime we're moving with the breath, creating this rhythm, this flow in the body, or doing a vinyasa, we tend to think of it simply as like these really hot, sweaty practices. And yes, it can be that. It can also be a little more gentle and easy like this. Ironically enough, sometimes that's harder to do. We're very much of the mindset that we have to do everything better, have the prettiest pose. Okay, so pull back into that Ardha Hanumanasana. Maybe you walk your hands back. Maybe you need the blocks a little higher. So all good little variations. Feel that stretch in your hamstring. You can pull. In fact, if you want to on this side, take your left thumb into that left hip, pull back. And then you're either pointing those left toes up towards the ceiling a lot, or you're letting them relax. This side might be entirely different than the other side. So you're just noticing, making adjustments. Listening to your breath. Are you remembering to breathe? It's hard in these intense poses. It actually makes them feel a little better though. All right, so we come forward again. And then hands on that front knee. Direct your tailbone down. Feel your sternum reach up. You might even squeeze your elbows in. Hold on to that as you reach arms out and up. Good, and then fingertips come to that right wrist. Pull up, get taller. And then hips shift a little bit to the right as you lean to the left. And maybe you're spinning your left ribs up towards the ceiling. So this gorgeous little lateral stretch. Shoulder blades still releasing down your back here. Pressing into the mound of the big toe, the mound of the little toe in that front foot. So you're not gripping those toes. Inhale back up to center. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. So framing that front foot, curl your right toes under. We're gonna step the right foot to meet the left foot here at the top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, press down into your feet. Stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Inhale, reach. As you exhale, fold in. Inhale, lengthen. As you exhale, plant your palms, step that left foot way back, lower onto the knee. Good, inhale back to your half splits. Exhale forward, couple like this. Inhaling back. Exhale forward. Inhale back. Exhale forward, hands come to the front thigh. Inhale, arms reach, grab that right wrist. Exhale to the left. Inhale back up. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. Plant palms, curl toes under. Hips low, you step to plank. Shift forward, lower to knees. Chaturanga, brief pause, onto your belly. Inhale, low cobra. As you exhale, tabletop to downward dog. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, belly helps step that foot through. Melt down onto that right knee, nice and deep. And then as you inhale, pull back, half splits, exhaling in, nice and gentle, like stretch out the breath with the movement. Exhale in. Good, inhaling, pulling back. Exhale, hands to that front thigh, tailbone releases, inhale, stretch arms up. Right fingertips come to that left wrist. As you exhale, lean to the right. Inhale up to center. Exhale, hands come to the mat, curl those right toes under. Step that foot to the top of the mat to meet the left. Inhale, lengthen. Exhaling, folding in. Inhale, press down into your feet. Stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Close your eyes here. Put your brain in your feet. Feel the arches lift. As that happens, direct your tailbone down. It's almost this slight little tuck of the tail. As your belly pulls in and up, feel your sternum lift. Good, and then blink your eyes open. Okay, so we are gonna come into some longer held, stretchier poses. So these yin stretches where we hold longer than we usually do. So it can be really nice to have props. We're gonna initially come into our single pigeon pose. So you can set this up today. You can just come down to your knees. If you know that you're tight in the hips, I'm gonna recommend that you have a blanket or a block to slide underneath the right side. All right, so this right knee is gonna come forward. And oftentimes when we're doing more of a classic vinyasa stretch, if you're a little more flexible in the hips, we bring that shin parallel with the top of the mat. I don't want you to do that today because we're gonna be here for about 3 or 4 minutes. So I want a deep bend. So it's like those right toes are pointing back towards this left hip. And then this is where I want you to slide potentially a little support underneath. And then you're reaching that left leg back. So it's like a cobra leg. And then take your time here. You're going to melt in. So you might be able to lay your forehead down on the mat. I would recommend starting with a block or a blanket underneath the head, especially since we're going to do this long hold here. And then you can always go a little deeper. So less is more beginning. So in the yin world, this is called the sleeping swan. So you can conjure up those images of a beautiful swan, just laying her head down, spreading her wings out. And you can even play with variations of your arms here. Another thing you could be doing if you don't have props available is making fists. So stacking the fists and then resting your forehead there. And then I want you to find a way to use your breath to introduce space into the body, especially this right hip, and to massage out the muscles. So just pretend that your breath has these little fingers and it's getting into this right hip and it's creating space. It's opening things up. And as we hold here, as we're in this long hold, things are going to want to grip. Can you figure out how to move or avoid that grip and introduce space instead? And maybe figure some of that out today. Maybe it's just food for thought for the future. And then check in with your breath again. So you might still be doing your ujjayi. At this point, you're more than welcome to let that go. So finding a more natural rhythm with the breath, but stretching it out. Check in with your shoulders here. So even if they're reaching forward, there's that sense of the tops of the shoulders releasing down, subtle, subtle sense of shoulder blades squeezing in towards each other. So we have about another minute here. If you would like to lift your swan, you start to walk your hands in. So this is a little more active. You press the shoulder heads back, and then you're really trying to wrap this left thigh down. You could even be up on those gecko fingertips again. So this is kind of a nice, it's this beautiful thoracic lift, but you're getting this nice stretch for the sides of the waist. And of course, you can just be resting on your forehead now as well too. So going for length, going for that fluidity. Just think of your muscles. Just imagine that they're water opening up. Really nice, Kathleen and Neil. And Tanya and Ches, I'm sure you're looking good too. Okay, so in the next inhale, everybody starts to rise on up. And then there are many ways that you could exit this pose. So I want you to play around with that. It might feel good for you to pull back to a downward dog. Maybe you just slide that left leg up and over. And then we set up for that second side again. So take a moment here, fidget out, long holds. Sometimes you need to get that blood flowing again. And then we're gonna come to that second side. So the left knee comes in front and deep bend. So you're really moving this left heel towards that right hip as opposed to having the shin parallel with the mat. And then lengthen back through that right leg, maybe even peek behind you just to make sure that the alignment is nice. And then you take your time melting in here. And of course, proppage is wonderful. So little something underneath that left butt cheek. And then maybe you have something underneath your left face cheek or your forehead, whether that is stacking fists, folding arms, using a block. Okay, so with this long hold in mind too, maybe back out a little bit if you need to help you find space in these poses, that lengthening in the muscles. Make sure that the muscles in the face are soft and relaxed. You're not kind of squinting the eyes, scrunching the eyes. So find grace in this pose. Swans are very, very graceful. So get that image in your head and try to channel some of that energy, some of that feeling, some of that spaciousness, that ease. The breath doesn't skip a beat. And as we hold here a couple more minutes, maybe it feels like you're getting a little more space so you can slide that back leg back. It might just be a millimeter more. You might feel that extension through the sides of your waist and opening across heart and chest. So I'm wearing my Frida Kahlo shirt from Brazil today. My brother Neil here is in class. I bought this on a hiking trip with him when I was there in February. But I decided to look up some Frida Kahlo quotes before I hopped onto this class today. And she has this one that's really beautiful and I think so apropos to the work we do in yoga, particularly right now. Nothing is absolute. Everything changes, everything moves, everything revolves, everything flies and goes away. Okay, so you have the option to start to fly your swan here if you would like, to walk your hands in, maybe coming to fingertips, pressing, lengthen your tailbone back if you're doing this. Press the shoulder heads back, feel that lift of your sternum. It's a little up dog. It's not even a little, it's a lot of the up dog feeling in your upper body. Fill up with breath. Let that inhale be really three-dimensional and expansive. Maybe start to bring your gaze back, up and back. Good, and then you're gonna make yourself out of this, or get yourself out of this side. So whatever that looks like, if you need to pull back to a downward dog, if that feels good in your body, you can do so. All right, so we are gonna come back in to child's pose. We're gonna do it a little different today. We're gonna do a really wide-legged child's pose. So if you do have a couple blankets, that's gonna be really nice. You could grab a cushion off the couch. If you have a bolster, that's gonna work. So, and you're gonna wanna have, definitely if you're on a hard surface, you're gonna wanna have knees on something and ankles on something. So, kind of find our child's pose. So typically knees are a little wider than hips. Today I want you to go to your outer limit. So this is gonna turn into a really intense hip stretch. You're gonna feel it in the inner thigh. So as you start to lay down, you might find that you need more height. And you could even, if this is really tight in your body, maybe you pull a chair or you bring a coffee table closer, so you're not getting this deep forward fold, but you're feeling more of the stretch in the thighs. You're still getting that. So that would be a great little variation as well. And then find your breath. So this is intense. As we come into this stretch, things are going to start to grip and hold on. See if you can navigate away. Use the breath as a tool to help you release. And for most of us, that's going to be in the inner groin, but we're going to feel a big stretch in the outer hip as well. And then maybe notice where your mind goes when we come into these long held, super stretchy, intense poses. So there's a lot of sensation happening, so we can go there. I invite you to get curious about that sensation. Again, how can you introduce more space, more relaxation into the muscles so they start to give way? And that's really the idea of a yin class, is that we're kind of letting the muscles stretch out, the joints slowly release. So we're taking our time doing that. But it's challenging. You're probably feeling this in your knees a lot. So make any little adjustments that if you need to, that might mean that you come out of this pose a little bit. As you're noticing these physical sensations, though, what kicks up in your mind? This is hell. This sucks. Oh, I like this. Get me out of this. So just notice those things, and then see if you can commit to listening to your breath. It might just be for a breath. That's where it starts. See if you can commit to that idea, or just be with that idea that things are fluid. Things are fluid in our bodies. As we hold this pose, it's changing. It's subtle, but it's happening. In life, when things are uncomfortable, it's hard to be in that space, but it is shifting, it's moving, it's evolving, it's revolving. Okay, so you might be at your max here. If you do want to play with more of a frog pose, we're halfway there. So if you need to roll up for a moment and look. So frog, the legs come out wide. So ankle is lining up with the knees. Let me give you the back view of this. And then you start to melt in. And of course, this just takes the sensation level up about 10 notches, if not more. So if you come here and it's like, ooh, this isn't working, you skip it. And then resting on something in front of you is really nice. This is an intense inner leg stretch, knee stretch. Send your breath there. Because of that intensity, you can feel the inner groin wanting to clench. How do you release? How do you let it go? Let's be here for about 5 more good breaths. Feel the shoulder blades release down your back. Good. Inhale. Start to roll on up. Oh, hallelujah. Make your way back in. So Tanya, I'm going to invite you to come into your Shavasana now, whatever that might look like. You can take that a few minutes before you have to run. The rest of us, we are going to come into our Supta Baddha Konasana, so bound angle pose, but I want you to have either a bolster, a couch cushion, or a couple of blankets stacked on top of each other at the bottom of your mat. So Baddha Konasana is these butterfly legs, so the feet are together. We are going to take this laying down, and I want you to get a little elevation. So if you're a little more open, you can probably go a little higher. If you're a little tighter, just use less. And then you start to make your way down. And you can rest your hands. Let's all start there to the inner thighs. So they're just gently pressing down. And of course, after that wide-legged child's pose, if you went into the frog pose, this feels not as intense as it might otherwise because we've stretched that out really good. And then close your eyes here if they're not already. And then if you'd like to take your arms somewhere else, so by the side might feel good. Cactus arms could feel really good here in this pose. You might also prefer to have both hands on your belly, one hand on heart, one hand on belly. And though we have stretched out the inseam of the leg, the inner groin, a good amount, it still might want to grip in your body. Notice if that's happening. Conjure up the image of water in those muscles. It's fluid. It's pliable. See if that idea can help you let go just a hair more. So from here, we're going to bring our hands to the outside of our knees and just use them to help draw the knees in. Give them a nice squeeze here. Rock a little bit from side to side, just massage out that lower back. And then we're going to come into our Shavasana, and we're going to just do a little supported Shavasana. So we have either blankets or a cushion at the bottom of our feet. And then maybe lift up. Use your hands to physically slide your buttocks flush towards your heels. So that's going to help you to get a little directionality in your tailbone. And then press into your head, the center of your head. Lift the shoulder blades up off the mat. Slide them together underneath you. It's almost like you're pinning them in. Nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. Melting in to your Shavasana here. So feel supported by the earth, feel supported by the mat. It is the structure that's holding you as you let go. Next inhale is deeper. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out. Ha. Gently rub your thumb across your fingertips. Start to wiggle the toes. And then reaching arms up overhead. Just yawn and stretch. And then staying soft and quiet. Roll onto one side or the other, just finding the fetal position. Pause there a moment. And use your hands to help you press up to a comfortable seat. And just observe how you feel here. So hopefully there is this sense of ease in the seat, this sense of space and strength. Notice the depth, the directionality of your breath. Notice how your headspace has shifted. So again, such a beautiful example of how things are always changing. Nothing stays the same. Send yourself love and gratitude for showing up, for working hard, for making the effort. Just promise yourself that you're going to carry some of this good feeling with you into the rest of the day, the rest of the week ahead. Pile your palms on top of your heart and just bow your head. Thank you, yogis. Beautiful work today.